Namaskar. Welcome to the Saraswati Sangam Project Scholar Talk series. Today we hear from Mr. Raviteja on what is Dharma from Dharmashastra.
Namaste, everybody. Very happy to have you all here. We are kicking off our session for 2024, first one for this year, with a talk from one of our TISC program mentee, Mr. Raviteja. So, Raviteja, you have some slide deck prepared.
Okay, Namaste, everybody. My name is Raviteja and I'm from Sringeri and I'm pursuing my post-graduation now at Central Sanskrit University located at the Sringeri, Rajiv Gandhi campus. Asi yasya manomisam pashe satkarma nimnatanurvani yasya mita smitancha madrang karunyamanyadrisham jvala yattapasastata nitram putrayam sambande jayinan jagadgurutam kushekharan deshikam कलयां यन्तः कलयांकितमौलिममलचिद्वलयाम् अलयां मागपीठीलयां लयाङ्कसुन्दरीवन्दाम्. So, I want to talk on the validity of Dharmashastras on Dharma, keeping an approach of Purvamimamsa Shastra in our minds. So, before starting the getting right into the topic, we have to at start look into what is the need of this enquiry into Dharma. So, why is the enquiry into Dharma is needed? So, if we look into this, we see that the Hindu scriptures basically are trying to provide an answer to the most basic questions that rise in our mind, like what is the nature of this universe and what is the purpose of our life and what is the nature of our life, etc. So, again, if we dive deep into these questions, what is the root of these questions? We see that every person in the world seeks sukham, and like he is seeking happiness and trying to get rid of dukkha. So he wants to know that what is the nature of this universe and trying to solve the puzzle. So basically, this desire is what is the root of all these questions. So we see that every person is seeking sukham, and therefore he is depending on one or another means to accomplish the same goal, that is of attaining sukha. So since there are many opinions on what is the means of sukha, so everybody is adapting their own means based on their own knowledge. So this means is what is referred to as dharma in the Hindu scriptures. The means that is capable of providing the sukha or the greatest good to a human being. So this means is what is referred to as dharma in the Hindu literature. So since I have said there are many opinions on the what is dharma, on the question that what is dharma, still it could be said that dharma in general is already being established among the common folk as a priti sadhanam or sukha sadhanam. I was talking that dharma has in general has been already established among the common folk as priti sadhanam. So what are the different opinions of people on dharma? We see that many people opine differently on what is dharma. I have put some opinions from the Shastras for our discussion now. So the Vaisheshikas say that Yataha Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Siddhi Sadharmaha. This is a Vaisheshika Sutra. So what this says is that the means that is capable of providing sukha in this world, in the Ihaloka, and moksha, that which is capable of providing both of these is called as dharma, the Vaisheshikas say. While Bhattamedha Tithi in his commentary to the Manusmriti says that dharma refers to a kriya or a process that which is able to provide some alaukika phalam. Alaukikam here refers to that a thing that is unperceivable by the present sense organs. So alaukikam, that process which is capable of providing an alaukika phalam when performed is called as dharma, he says. Dharma shabdah kartavya kartavyayor vidhi pratishedhayoh adrishtarthayoh tadvishayāyānca kriyāyān drishta prayogah. Kriyāyam here is to note. We have to note. He is saying that a kriya. So we have three opinions right in front of us now. So even if I was saying that chitta vasana, chitta refers to mind, and vasana is an attribute. So the Buddhas are saying that dharma is an attribute of mind. So basically, everybody is saying that saying too many different things. Like attribute of mind is another thing, and kriya, which is a process, is totally a different thing. So there is matabheda, a great matabheda in what is dharma, regarding what is dharma. So we have to inquire what is true sadhana or true dharma. The inquiry is to be done. I have moved to the fifth slide now.
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh, so since there is matabheda, we have to inquire into what is dharma. The same is said by the Sutrakara Jaimini in his Jaimini Sutras of Mimamsa Shastra. The first initial sutra says that Adhato Dharma Jignasa. Henceforth, inquiry into Dharma is required. Since he is saying henceforth, we need to know why. That is what I explained before. The process, like uh, seeking, has to come before, and then the Dharma Jignasa is started. Okay, I'm at the next slide now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Since such an object is a Kriya Padartha, as we have seen before, or a Kartavya Padartha, Sri Ganganadha has translated in his Shabra Bhashya translation of into English as the word dharma as duty, and this perfectly sinks in with the thought of Mimamsakas. Like Mimamsakas say that Dravya Kriya Gunadinan Dharmatvam Sthapayishyate. So they are basically saying that a certain thing that is to be performed or brought into action or needs to be brought into action is called as dharma. Mimamsakas say. Here, and the word duty exactly puts that meaning into our minds. So this translation, I have kept this translation for my slides right now. So we have to inquire into dharma. The same is explained by, again, Kumarila Bhatta while describing the first sutra, Athato Dharma Jignasa. He says that जिज्ञास्य संशयाद्धर्मः श्रेयस्करतयापि च असन्दिग्धो ह्यजिज्ञास्यो यो वा स्यान् निष्प्रयोजनः, which means that since dharma is a matter of doubt, since people are in doubt regarding to it, and since the padartha dharma is capable of providing and conducive for the highest good of the people, it is to be inquired into. If any of these two points was not there, we need not inquire into that. If it was not capable of providing the good, or if it was not the matter of doubt, then we need not inquire into that. Since dharma is a matter of doubt and it is conducive for the good, we have to inquire into that. So now another question arises that how do we inquire into dharma? This question is asked by Shabaraswami again in Bhashya. He asked that Sakatham Jignasitavyaha, which means that in what matter is the inquiry into dharma is to be carried on. And further he answers the same question. Ko dharmaha kathan lakshanaha kanyasya sadhanani kani sadhana bhasani kim parascha. So what this means is that he is explaining the nature of inquiry here. He says that we have to ask the questions like what is dharma and by what is dharma indicated and what are the right means of accomplishing dharma and what is the end or purpose of the dharma. These are the questions we need to investigate, he says. So keeping the first two questions in our minds, we will proceed further. The next sutra comes up answering the first two questions. What is dharma and by what dharma is indicated? These two questions are answered in this sutra. Chodana Lakshanortho Dharma is the second sutra of Mimamsa. In the sutra, the word Chodana means that Veda. So the meaning of this sutra could be generally said that dharma is that which is indicated by the Veda as conducive to the highest good. Therefore, the sutra is clearly stating that Veda Vedas are the sole authority on Dharma. Therefore, our question arises that how do Dharmashastras come into the picture? Are they not valid on providing knowledge of Dharma? Since the sutra is clearly stating that Chodana Lakshanotho Dharma, so Veda are the sole authority on Dharma. This topic is described further in the third and subsequent chapters of Shastra. So, having answered the first two questions in this sutra, the next adhyayas proceed to answer the other questions that we asked before. So, in the rest of the Shastra, there are 8 means of Dharma, 8 means of knowledge which are capable of providing knowledge of Dharma mentioned till the 12th adhyaya of the Shastra, which are Vidhi, Arthavada, Mantra, Smriti, Achara, Namadheya, Samarthya, Vakyasheshaha. These are the 8 means of knowledge which are capable of providing Dharma, that is knowledge on Dharma. So these are the pramanas. These are the only pramanas that are capable of providing knowledge on Dharma as per Mimamsa Shastra. So we have to see that the 6 out of these 8 are part of Vedas itself. So Vidhyarthavada, Mantra, Samarthya, Vakyasheshaha are basically part of Veda itself. The Veda has been divided into different parts, and Vidhi, Arthavada, Mantra, and Samarthya, Vakyashesha. These make this at the end they come into the Veda itself. So we do not have to think more about Chodana Lakshana Ortho Dharma. The sutra has already established the pramanya of these parts. But what stand out are smritis and acharas. So basically smritis are referring to Dharmashastras. So now how does the smriti becomes an authority on Dharma is a question. So answering this question, I have put a translation by Ganganadhya for us here. It states that we might take exception to the conclusion arrived at 112, which is Chodana Lakshana Ortho Dharma, to the effect that the Veda is the only authority for Dharma, and in order to guard against this and to ascertain how far Smriti and custom may be allowed to interfere with the Veda in matters relating to Dharma, it has to be shown that these are based upon the Vedas. It has to be shown that these are based upon the Vedas from which alone they derive their authority. That means that Smritis derive their authority based just on the Vedas. This topic is discussed in the Smriti Adhikaranam of first adhyaya, first chapter in Mimamsa. So the summary of the Adhikarana is something like this. So Adhikarana starts with the question that if to consider some act which is affected by the Smritis, where we do not find any Vedic text as a source for it. Something that is not said by the Vedas is being said by the Smriti. If that is the situation, what we have to do? An example would be Ashtakah Kartavyaha. This is a vakyam which is stating that Ashtakah Shraddha is to be performed. We do not find any similar sentence in Veda saying that Ashtaka Shraddha is to be performed. Another Shraddha may be injected by the Vedas, but Ashtaka Shraddha is not. So the question arises, is Smriti valid here or not? The Purva Paksha is there, and then at the end, the Siddhanta, we have to look into Siddhanta right now. After exploring all the possibilities there, it is established at the end that one shall infer a Vedic text seeing such a Smriti Vakya. Since the author is a Traivarnika, or he is capable of knowing the Vedas, and since basically they have used the word Sarvajna and Alpajna for us. Since we are not capable of knowing that much Vedas, we can only study one branch of Veda today. So they were capable, the rishis were capable of studying much more Vedas in their times. Their capability was very much. So therefore, we have to infer a Vedic text when we see such a Smriti Vakya. So the source of that Smriti Vakya is an inferred Veda, Shruti. Anumita Shrutihi, it is said that. So therefore, inference is the pramana here. So inference is the pramana for the Smritis here. Basically, we infer a source from Veda. So again, the whole of the burden comes now on the sole authority of Vedas. Since the pramanya of Smriti also depends on the Pramanya of Vedas. So we have to establish the Pramanya of Vedas for that also now. How do we prove that Vedas are not invalid when declaring some alaukika vishaya? Alaukika is something not perceivable by our sense organs. We cannot perceive those things. So if Veda is stating some such a thing, is Veda invalid? Is a question. So this question is answered in the Apaurushayatva of the first chapter and the first pada. So a summary would be here like, okay. So the methods that could be employed to establish any the validity of any verbal injection could be, I have split into three possibilities. So first could be explaining the nature of the fact propounded by that verbal injection, that text. So for example, we could take a sentence like Agnihotran Juhayat Swargakamaha. It is a sentence which states that there is a cause and effect relationship of Agnihotra and Swarga. Swarga refers to Sukha Vishesha, not like Loka Vishesha, but Sukha Vishesha in Mimamsaka Mata. So Agnihotra is capable of generating Swarga. The cause and effect relationship of Agnihotra and Swarga is stated by this Vakya. So basically, to prove that this is valid, what we could do as one possibility is that we have to perform experiments. Like this can, by other means, we have to explain that this what is stated is true. This is one method. Simply put, we have to find logic, make it logical. Is one method. Or other, the second method could be inferring someone who has seen this cause and effect relationship. Basically, we cannot see this relationship, even though, yet we have to infer someone who has seen this cause and effect relationship and then injected us with this relationship, that because he needs us to perform this and get again sukha. So therefore, again inference comes in here, and even if we are not able to see the alaukika thing, we have to by establish that someone has cognized this fact, because without cognizing that fact, nobody could have said this sentence. So we infer some karta or create author to the sentence. The author is called as Ishvara at the end. This is the Nayayika Mata. So they infer an Ishvara who is Sarvajna, so all-knowing entity means Ishvara here. He has seen this cause and effect relationship of Agnihotra and Swarga and has injected us to know that. This is one method. The third method is establishing Apaurushayatva. Why has this to be taken into account is that even if we infer Ishvara, like all-knowing entity, yet we have to, yet we cannot infer his aptatva similarly. Aptatvam refers to his trustworthiness. So even in the world, we see that if we have to, even if we not know that, if we do not know that a person is not trustworthy, if we know that a person is not trustworthy, we do not like agree on the fact that he is saying. So we have to know his trustworthiness. So we cannot establish that trustworthiness of Ishvara in the Nayayika Mata. Is an akshepa shown by Mimamsakas. Therefore, also to infer so many things is called as Gaurava dosha. So we have to infer so many things. So but in the Mimamsaka Vadas, we will look into that first, and we will know that how this mata has Laghava. So what the Mimamsakas say that the Veda is not a work of any person, any man. It is not a man-made work, but it is a nitya. It is nitya, that is eternal. So how do we know that it is eternal? Here, another pramana comes into play. So arthapatti is the pramana, which Nayayikas do not take on. So arthapatti refers to analogy. So we see that the Vedikas today are protecting every letter and every intonation of Veda with so much care and respect. and every letter is protected by so much care. So nothing related to Veda is not being lost by the Vedikas. So they are keeping care of everything perfectly. But we see that they do not remember an author of the Veda. So there seems some contradiction. So this contradiction has to be explained some way. So keeping this contradiction in mind, the Mimamsaka explains that if the like the people Vedikas respect the Veda, and they have to remember an author if there was one, but they do not remember. Therefore, there is not an author. There is not an author. So therefore, Nitya. Vedadhyayanam sarvam gurvadhyayana purvakam is an anumana. Like today, how an Vedadhyayana, how a Vedadhyayana is happens is a guru is there and a shishya is there. So a shishya learns from his guru. So similarly, in the earlier times also, a guru was there indeed. There is no man who has self-learned Vedas. So this process of guru shishya learning has been eternal. There was in the first adhyayana, which could have happened. There was also a guru. So there is no shishya who has self-learned the Vedas. So this establishes the nityatva of the Vedas. Is what the Mimamsakas say. So I have explained this slide already. So the Ishvara in inferring Ishvara, there was a dosha. I have explained that already. And the first point where we could have explained by logic that Agnihotra is capable of providing sukha, swarga. That doesn't work, because if we go into explaining that the nature, the cause and effect relationship of Agnihotra and swarga is capable of being explained by another means, then the pramanya of Veda itself falls down, because the validity of Veda is established saying that abadhitartha bodha janakatvam, which means that not only of the Vedas, of every pramana, even our eye is pramana only when it is capable of making us know something that which is not capable to be known by any other senses. So we cannot hear the sound through our chakshu, that is our eye. So therefore, our ear is pramana for the shabda. Similarly, we can perceive the rupam by chakshu, that is our eyes, but our ears cannot perceive rupam. So therefore, chakshu is pramana for rupam. So every pramana has its own field and its own limitations. Similarly, what is known by Vedas is not capable to be known by any other pramana. So we have to establish this thing. And in the earlier slide, the first point was on explaining the nature of the cause and effect relationship of Agnihotra and Swarga by other means. If we go on to explain truly we cannot explain that thing, but if we go on to explain somehow, the pramanya of Vedas fall down, because if the relationship was perceived by other means, then there was no need for Vedas. So certainly the thing is only known from the Vedas. We have to establish that fact. Only then the Vedas are valid. So the same thing has been explored in the Kalpasutra Hikaranam of Mimamsashastra in first pada. Also, Kumarila Bhatta states that Shreyas sadhanata kyesha nityam vedat pratiyate tadrupyena cha dharmatvam tasman na indriya gocharaha. Na indriya gocharaha, he says. So the sense organs cannot perceive dharma. What is dharma? Therefore, Veda has to be the only authority. I have explained the other points now, like Ishvara, taking on Ishvara, there is Avyavastha. So the Apaurushayatva Paksha remains. That is the Mimamsaka Paksha. That remains at the end. So since Vedas are Apaurushaya, there is no possibility of a man-made error in the Vedas. Since there is no karta, the word or the sentences are not man-made. So there could not be of any fault, because the nature of Shabda Pramana is such that it do not have any fault on its own, like other Pramanas. A Chakshu could have fault by Swarupa, like any roga in the Chakshu, but Shabda cannot cannot be like that. It is, if Shabda is apramana, then it is because of the doshas of a man who is pronouncing that Shabda, or who is forming that sentence. So if there is no man behind the sentences of Veda, the pramanya of Shabda stays like utsargatah praptam. It is swabhava of Shabda. Only if a man is at fault, then the sentence could be at fault. Otherwise, the sentence is by swabhava pramana, is what is the idea of Mimamsaka. I have explained the apaurushayatva adhikaranam also in the previous slide only. So, in the Shlokavartikam, the same Kumari Bhatta says the same. Evamati vinayuktya kalpyam mimamsakaif punah idanimiva sarvatra drishtan nadhikamishyate. Drishtan nadhikamishyate is the point here. Like the Nayayikas went on to infer an Ishvara, which is not seen by us right now, who cannot be seen by us right now. But Mimamsakas do not infer something like that. Like we see the Vedikas now, we see the Vedikas studying the Veda now, we take that and we see that Vedikas protect everything, like even a letter and an intonation, everything with such care, but they do not remember the karta. So we are just taking up what we are seeing right now. Drishtat adhika vishyate. We are not taking up any adrishta. So this is the laghavam in this Mimamsakas paksha. Is what he says to the Nayayika, who is a Purvapakshi here. Basically, the Nayayika is not on the Purvapaksha, but the Buddha is, and not even the Buddha, but the Bauddhas are. Indirectly, Mimamsaka is saying all these things to a Nayayika, directly to the Bauddhas. So therefore, the question, answer to the question is now, like, how is a Smriti valid? The validity of Smritis is being explained by the Vedas. Like, if and only if source text which is in the Vedas is there, then only the Smriti is valid. So there are two conditions of to prove this. Like, the author has to be an astika, like he has to have an access to the Vedas. Only then the Smriti author could see that fact from the Veda and write it down as a Smriti. And second is aptatva of the author. Aptatvam is being trustworthy. That again is a great topic discussed. So I would not take on that now. So these are the two conditions that are stated down in the Smriti Adhikarana. Sayanacharya in his Nyayamala states the same. Vaidikaihi smaryamanatvat sambhavya vedamulaka. So therefore, the inference is the mula of Smriti's pramanya. Now, another question comes up. If a Smriti seems to contradict a Vedic statement, what do we have to do? This question is taken upon in the next Adhikaranam, or next Adhikaranam, Virodhadhikaranam. After the Smriti Adhikaranam, this topic is taken up. There are many possibilities discussed, and the Bhashyakara and Kumari Bhatta, who is a Vartikakara, both have different opinions. At the end, if the contradiction cannot be solved by any means, then the Smriti is not invalid at that point. If that is able to be solved, the contradiction is able to be solved somehow by explaining Smriti, somehow the meaning of the Smriti something else, then the Virodha is to be solved that way. And the possible solutions have been explained there. So this is, but we know that if the contradiction stays on, however, whatever we do, then the validity of Smritis are gone. So the Smritis stay invalid then. So what I could summarize is that all these questions have been asked before, like how Smriti is valid, and why a Smriti is valid. Like, every possibility has been explained before. So we do not have to just depend on mere speculations like Agnihotra is capable of generating Swarga, and by mere logic we do not have to explain all these things. Like even I could not use the word even logic, uha, mere speculations and samvada. That is another one is saying the same thing, so I am saying this thing. This is called as samvada. So we do not have to depend on this thing, but instead it is the burden is on us to explore the scriptures and find valid solutions. So I have some questions on my mind. I will leave that. I will conclude with this. So one question was that how convincing is the anadi concept of jagatah anaditvam, anadi concept of the world? How convincing is it is to the modern mind? So what I think is that even the anaditvam is perceived by inference. The means to perceive that is inference. We do not have pratyaksha of the world existed or not. We do not know by present senses. So we have to infer that now. Similarly, jagatah aditvam, saditvam. So even the modern theories which say that Big Bang and the world started later at some point of time. So this is also we do not by direct perception or cognition. So there also the pramana is inference. So if there are two inferences or there are two knowledges came out of same pramana, then we have to do prabalya durbalya vichara. So which is prabala, which is durbala. We have to find the doshas. So this is one question I have in my mind. And the second one is that I have seen some people trying to explain like the cause and effect, whatever the fact is propounded by the Vedas by logic. It could be useful for the scriptures like Ayurveda. Like we can perform experiments like if we do such and such things, then we can cure this roga. So we can take up a project for an year and conduct an experiment and check that if that fact is right or not. So it is perceivable by other sense organs. So or other means, other pramanas. So therefore, we can perform that kind of test to a text such as Ayurveda. But if as a text like Veda, which states alaukika facts and which is not like perceivable by the sense organs or other pramanas, then logic falls there. So what we have to prove is that we have to prove logically that things beyond logic exist. Then we do not have to discuss further. So if we prove logically that things beyond logic exist, then there is no work of logic further. This is what I think. I need reviews on that. So the same is said by Kumari Lafetta. Sangatya yadi cheshyeta purva pramanata pramanantaramichanto navyavasthan labhemahi. Sangati here refers to the samvada. Like another pramana says, so I hear a sound and I do not trust that sound. If that happens, like I do not trust that sound, I will trust only if that I see that sound, I will trust that. If someone says like this, that would lead to an avyavastha. Like what is perceivable by one sense organ is perceivable by only that sense organ. So we have to depend on that fact. So we do not run for another pramana. Sangatya iti cheshyeta purva pramanata. Pramanantaram. We do not have to run behind another pramana. We have to trust one pramana. If we have established the pramanyam of that pramana, the validity of a pramana, if it is established, then we do not have to run behind another pramana to prove the facts propounded by one pramana. Is what is the summary of Apurushaitvathikaranam taken by, as explained by Kumar Lafetta and other authors. So I would conclude my talk here. So I think I had bad English. My fluency is bad. So I think you have understood that. Thank you.
Thank you. This was excellent, Raviteja. Thank you so much for talking about what you're studying and offering a little taste of that. And I would say the concept of dharma and religion, we keep talking about them not being the same, and that dharma is one of those non-translatables. So you have shed some light on that fact. And of course, the other aspect that you've shared is the process that our study system goes through in a very logical, interreferenceable approach to creating knowledge and accessing knowledge. And the other aspect that I loved is, of course, how far logic goes and beyond which logic doesn't have a role. So of course that is an aspect, and being able to define exactly how far logic can take us. So that again, being in the backdrop of talking about dharma, is obviously a very nice discourse that you've started, and I would actually look to connect with you again on a more deeper dive, sort of a fireside chat mode. I started that with another mentee, so I would probably do that with you, because this is very heavy, dense, and very involved and detailed topic. So obviously, concept of dharma and the fact that it's not the same as religion needs to be visited a little bit more care. But let me open up for more questions and comments from all the other mentors, as well as I have a couple of mentees here.
I just have one comment. I think it was a very heavy topic, and Ravi, you have done an extremely good job in condensing it to at least help us understand what you were talking about. And Aparna, you of course have summarized it in a good way, but really, uh, kudos to you in terms of your preparation on this topic. I think a lot of us,
Thank you, sir.
I did study it a bit, but that was like in high school, so I do not remember much. So it was just recalling something, and absolutely great to hear you. So kudos.
Thank you very much, sir.
So Raviteja, you presented at a conference recently, right? Some meeting recently. Would you like to share some experience from that?
So that was a competition. So it is called as Shalaka. So what exactly happens is that we are instructed a certain grantha to be studied upon. So I had the Shloka Vartika and some part of Shloka Vartika. So what we have to do is remember the whole part which is instructed. So we have to keep the whole shlokas in our mind. The first round is based on the remembrance. If he is able to remind the whole grantha, then he proceeds to the next round. There, the explaining of meanings and discussions, vakyarthaitis proceed. So that was competition at the state level. I had the opportunity to meet Veeranarayana Pandurangi and again Vachaspati Mishra. So many greats and Krishna Ghanapati. Many scholars were there, so it was a great moment. So and I have got an opportunity to visit Ayodhya since I have qualified the state level. So I had the national level competitions will be organized at Ayodhya. So that is a great thing, I think.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yes. When is that national level competition?
So the date has not been announced, but probably in the March month.
Okay, so pretty soon.
I think you have described the scientific method as enunciated by Patanjali, the 4 levels, in a very, very beautiful way to understand what dharma means. And you've done it in a relatively short time frame, which is amazingly good. I congratulate you on doing that. A lot of us out in the West and in India also have problems in understanding and explaining to others how this is different from what is called religion. So I think you did a great job, and this video should be made available to as many people as possible.
Couldn't agree more. I saw Abhyuday, you had a hand up at a while ago. Did you have a question?
I did. Thank you, Parna ma'am. I think it was really, really nice how Raviteja was able to break down such like dense information and like kind of explain it lucidly. Especially as a person who doesn't have a kind of background in Sanskrit, I was able to understand everything really well. Especially all the explanation of the philosophy and all of that, the method of inquiry. I think like I had a doubt, if I'm allowed to ask. Is that okay?
Yes, of course, please.
So there was a slide, I think the 12th slide, about the cause and effect relating to Agnihotra and Swarga. So isn't that kind of how do I put it? Like kind of focusing too much on the material well-being of kind of relating, like doing this ritual to getting material happiness. Shouldn't we kind of focus more on like, for example, the other schools of philosophy which speak about moksha and gnana and other stuff like that? Isn't this focusing a lot about rituals and like how to get material happiness from that, especially about the cause and effect relation?
Okay, so the Purvamimamsa wholly deals with this concept only. The Karma Kanda is the matter of topic for me, Purvamimamsakas. Even the Vedantins agree on this Apaurushayatva, which is propounded by the Mimamsakas. But the difference is that they also take an Ishvara for their advantage. They keep both the concepts. That is again a great topic. And about that, like Swarga is something that is lesser than Moksha. So the Vedantins also say that only if one has experienced enough of Swargas and enough of every dukkha, only then one gets detached from all those things, and then he proceeds to get into the inquiry of moksha and that the sadhanas for the moksha. So one has to experience many things, and then only the real detachment comes. So mental detachment is one thing, and the real detachment is another thing. So uh, only once he has gone through many of the worldly things, only then he is detached from those. So even to experience those worldly things, there are right means and wrong means. So one can take pleasure by killing someone, and one can take pleasure in doing a yaga. So both are the methods to attain some sukha. So the Purva Mimamsa is relevant at that point. When one is seeking sukha, you have to adapt this means and not that means. So it divides by vidhi and nishedha. It says that you go through this way and attain that sukha, and not through this way. If you go through this way, you will reach a good greater point than where you are currently. So the relevancy of Mimamsa is at that point, and the next step, the Vedantis come and hold your hand to take you towards the moksha. Thank you.
So just a comment without repeating everything that has already been said, Raviteja. Your command over Sanskrit and over English is very impressive. Your depth of preparation comes through in the confidence with which you're taking this very dense topic and making it understandable in a matter of minutes. So I just want to congratulate you on that. That is very impressive.
Thank you very much, sir.
And Raviteja, I have one comment. So as topic is very deep and your command is very good. How do you see, for example, what are the hidden basically knowledge base within Sanskrit we can try to bring to the mainstream? See that think like this, nowadays a lot of innovation is happening based on the research in life science, in drug, in like providing more comfort to medical health. Religion is very, as we know, like Sanatana Dharma is very deep. So I'm just, do you have any insight what we can bring, like basically on the short run and the long run? What are the key information we can bring from the Sanskrit to more common people in more like a easy understandable language like English and Hindi and other languages? So making the whatever knowledge base our Rishi and like Muni has given like more practical to the common people.
Yeah. So what I think is that the scope of darshanas, which are Mimamsa, Vedanta, and Nyaya, etc. So their purpose is only, I would say, not limited, but they mainly focus on explaining the meanings of the Veda, etc. So I think uh, only maybe Sanskrit language could be capable of that. But thinking of Ayurveda, etc., which explore the worldly sciences, those texts could be translated to English or brought to common people. So other things, I even I find it hard to put into English. So uh, I haven't thought much on that topic. So this is what I think. The basic darshanas are very tough to be translated into another language. The exact tatparya of those things couldn't be put in other languages, I think.
Yeah, Raviteja, yeah, I understand. So the language itself, see, we want to, while like, let's just be practical, while Sanskrit is getting more popular, the government is going to work on that. Many religious and like organization can work in those area. While we are bringing people to the language, we also need to at the same time extract the key meaningful information, and we need to, it's all about like relating and helping the people. So more from see, people need to see the benefit, because like it's not a short-term job. It's not easy to explain, and sometime and like a lot of people the focus on PhD in Sanskrit, and see, we know by the fact that there's so much of wealth of information in our like epic languages, in epic like Vedas and Purana and Upanishad and everybody. But the problem is, unless people see the direct benefit, direct relate, see, just take like mental case. In our Indian culture, in Sanatan Dharma, like every temple was treated as a university. There are like a complete economic system around that university, culture, and then whole focus was like knowledge-based driven. Gyan Yoga was the perfect. So in order to make sure people understand the kind of like wealth hidden in these like gems in our like texts and Vedas and all that, there has to be like more practical way. So people today, if you think there are so much of mental issue, there are so much of like a struggle in the common life, and just by taking the perseverance, like not getting like frustrated with the problem, but like approaching in the right way, being calm and like treating like dukh and sukh in the same way, and then basically fighting like through a karma. Let's go and try to get into the solution mode, basically by believing that God is going to help you, and these there are like ways and tool to solve the problem. So I'm just somehow like we have to bring these epic knowledge to common people, so that they can start seeing the benefit. And once they see the benefit, like their perspective basically changes. So some of those things what we need to think in the long term, how can we make it like practical?
Yeah, sir, I relate with this thing. So what happens is that I am at Sringeri right now. If I go back to my hometown, even now, the people think that I am learning Sanskrit as a language, like just as English
Oh,
or
yeah.
any other thing. They do not understand the concepts that I am studying here. So basically, they think that I am learning a language. So
one thing I propose we can do, and Ravindra, hopefully that will move us forward in the direction that you are asking your question, is I'll work with Raviteja to see if we can invite some other speakers who are more advanced in their study in being able to translate in a manner that your question gets answered, or at least we get some path forward in terms of having a sense of how we make knowledge available for broader use.
Right. Yeah, actually, Parnaji, what we can do, like, just take a practical example. Let's say there are a lot of research is being done in life science industry on the new drug, new compound, new chemical. Let's say, for example, in our Sanskrit, so much information were given. Let's say we are targeting on like colon cancer or oncology or Alzheimer. I'm just trying to understand how do we there are research happening in the US universities in Germany and all that on Sanskrit language. It's just that our own people are unaware. So I'm trying to dig up. Let's say instead of like digging up in PubMed and PMC and all these like clinicaltrial.gov, why can't I dig up my own Sanskrit beautiful books, and we can correlate the meaning? So let's just think, how do we create like the sensation in the word, and then whole idea is people should know what is there and what they are missing. So we can figure out a practical aspects of that and see what can be done.
And of course, we can motivate scholars like Raviteja to advance his work towards becoming contributive to these themes, because we need young blood. That's actually the reason why we have this group to motivate people like Raviteja to take his studies forward in a way that future is secured.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just curious. So once you complete your studies, what does a typical day look like? What do you do? Do you teach? Do you engage in something as scholars? What do you do? Hmm.
So currently, it is just a normal college thing. So at the degree level, we had other subjects such as history and Hindi, etc. So after completing my undergrad graduation, so at the post graduation level, we have only the Shastra papers. We have five papers, and the whole day goes like uh, normal college day. But what we do is that uh, who are really interested in those things, like not for a mere degree or the paper. So what happens is that separate exams are conducted, like Tenali and Ahmednagar at Maharashtra, etc. Exams are conducted. So people who are interested take up on those exams, and the for the college exams we do not have to study that much. We
Mhm.
can easily pass if we put little effort into that. But to get the grip on Shastra, so we have to engage, like what you talked about. So after we have to engage, it is called as Chintana in the Gurukula Shikshana Paddhati. More
Yeah.
than the Patha, it is called as Chintana. If we have 1 hour class, we have to think about that class, like repeat
Mhm.
and think of the topics we studied in that class for 5 or 6 hours in that day. So Chintana is more important than the Patha or Grahana. Uh, so college courses do not require that much effort. We can easily get through them easily. But I am thinking of uh, taking up seriously the Shastra after completing degree. But let's see what happens. Where life takes me.
So once you are out of the college, can you appear in civil services, for example? Can you become IAS
Uh,
officer?
yeah,
Is
we can attempt that, but time again. We need time for that.
No,
To
I'm
put
actually
effort in.
seriously asking the question in that sense that
Yeah.
ultimately it's such a intense and dense thing, and you as a student and everybody else or all of the acharyas and everybody, you are effectively the custodian of our
Mhm.
knowledge in that sense. How do you do your jivika, for example, right? Not everybody is going to be back in college and teaching new students. Something else must be out there, right? What is that something else? How does it fit into the normal modern economic activities? Uh, like, of course, as Ravindraji is saying, there is a untapped market just
Mhm.
to explore this knowledge base, but that is not yet there. So what is the attraction for the kids, the students, to keep coming back to this stream? What do you look forward to?
So the teaching field is the main field everyone aspires for when coming into this field. So I have been thinking on this thing, Jivika thing, from a long time now, 6 or 7 months now. Recently, Aparna ji had introduced me to Shiv Senani sir from Andhra. So I had a little chat with him. He also suggested about taking up on some other thing, like civil services or any other thing which can be a great source of income for scholar or the scholars who take into Sanskrit field. So he just suggested me to attempt,
Mhm.
if I am serious on getting a Jivika, then he had suggested me to go into that field also. He says that one can uh, put in efforts in both the fields if he has the intent, great intent. So
Mhm.
suggesting that thing mainly. Yeah.
I
Yes,
am.
I think we should wrap up now, but just to mention that your assigned mentor, Anil ji, can also be a very useful and good resource to have this discussion further, because he comes from a background, and obviously you want, of course, teaching is a great profession. I am in it. but a broader impact of what Ravindraji is saying is, I think, a worthy pursuit to consider, because the impact really needs to be beyond the safety of the educational enterprises. And that's where the greatest reward for our knowledge structure and knowledge systems is to be sought. So I'll wrap up with that. And Yogeshji, to your point, I think we need to all continue to work with Raviteja to keep inspiring him, guiding him, and showing pointers, because in the ecosystem he may not have those kind of exposures, and to learn exactly the environment he is in, and then how we can be some sort of a motivational force is what we would hope. I would hope.
I just want to take 30 seconds to make a comment. The reason why I raised the point about civil services,
Sure.
I think, of course, people like us are at probably good place to actually influence and talk about it. But remember this, I think it's a tangential comment, but there is a huge set of Muslim candidates who get trained and prepared for civil services through their traditional religious languages channel. And they have been, if you have covered, read about it in the past, they have been a hugely successful crop. So a lot of those people are getting into the services. And imagine if there's not a counterbalance over a period of next 20 years, 30 years, when these people go up to uh, serious positions, and that counter narrative is missing completely, because we never really encouraged person like Raviteja to actually appear for civil services and go there, we will be having issues. So that's just my tangential comment to make.
Thank you. No, that's a very important comment, and I think that should be the reason we should look at and work on what opportunities and support structure we can create. It's a very important.
So Yogesh, just to add, like civil services were compromised during UPA, and in fact, Urdu teacher will give full mark to the. So there is a lot of problem. Hopefully, Modi is going to fix, but people need to get aware. Media needs to take the role. But there is a Sanskrit. There's a language is in IAS. It's in civil services, and definitely. In fact, like right now, there is a lack of like I'm not sure how many universities are teaching Sanskrit after BA and all that. Probably Kasi Vishwanath University, but I'm not sure which other universities are teaching. So that's what like we need to see. The other side is connected through religious angle, and then there are like a lot of political challenges. And then like a lot of like see now in our society we don't relate a lot, but that's what we need to start doing the practicality. If you are getting PhD in Sanskrit, you are not going to be jobless. We need to basically we need to create that momentum. It's very true. It's just that everything is there. We need like a serious effort and focus to make it happen. It will happen. So if you can start moving in that direction, and then as you said, even during our in our like not just forget IAS, PCS also we can use as a Sanskrit language, and then the state civil services.
And it's not only the language matter. I think something which is worrisome, and you mentioned UPA time, and we are getting into a political topic, but it's other subjects coming from the theology on that side, which have become main subjects for candidates to qualify for. I'm not sure how much do we have from our side, Hindu philosophy type of a subject as a main subject. Can somebody candidate pick it up and give an exam? And then, of course, like Raviteja can practice and become an expert on the subject, and then qualify to become the IAS officer.
Right. So I think as a society, we need to move for. We have to have a serious effort in that direction.
Right.
And so we need to remove that as like even Raviteja is such an expert in this language, in this like topic. He is seen as a language person. That itself is that indicates about our community how a lot of things has to be done. It's just that let's see. We need to probably chart our priority, and then where we can make serious impact.
Very good point. That's how little general people understand what Sanskrit studies can be about. And I think that was very funny what you said, Raviteja. If you're doing an MS in English and somebody says you're learning English, meaning you're learning ABCD and how to make 3-letter words and 5-letter words, which happens in kindergarten and first grade. That's really what you're saying. That's what people think when you're doing an MS in Granth that are all Sanskrit based and the deep knowledge they have in them. So let's wrap up with that. Thank you so much, Raviteja. This was wonderful and I think a great start for having more conversations. And as I said, I will reach out to you to have more one-on-one chats in a more deeper sort of investigation and learning mode. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you for tuning in. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you.